Star Fox is one of the Nintendo Switch 2's best games yet. In May, when they revealed Star Fox to be an existing game, for it to have not been revealed before then, but then they gave us a direct, like 5 minutes before it went live. They said, hey, we're about to have a direct. They aired that direct while I was in a movie theater. I was close to the back, there wasn't anyone behind me, and so I just figured I'd sneak a watch, right? I watched it while I was watching Project Hail Mary. I saw that direct, and I didn't know what to expect or what to think. Star Fox 64 came out in June of 1997, and here we see in 2026, once again, it comes out in June. Almost 30 full years after Star Fox 64's release. This game has been remade like 4 different times at this point. They gave us so many different renditions of it, and they just refuse. They just refuse to move on with the series and to give us something completely new. On top of that controversy, there also was the realistic textures on these animals, on both Fox and Peppy and Slippy and Falco and Bill and the General. Like, every single character looks so realistic. The designs were so polarizing at first, but to be honest with you, even in retrospect, so many people weren't just hating on it, they were just calling out how weird and unique it was. And at the time, I was captivated. I didn't know how to think about it at first, but as time went on, I even made a video about this, I could not stop thinking about this game. Stop thinking about how great it looked and just how much I wanted to get my hands on it. I've never played a Star Fox game before Star Fox for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I couldn't be happier that I have waited this long and that Nintendo has given me the opportunity to invest in another one of their IPs, because Star Fox for the Switch 2, it's something special. As I do in most of my reviews, but especially for this one, we have got to start off with this gameplay. The gameplay is unlike anything I've ever played. The style of genre is called a rail system, I believe, and the rail system is basically you going through in a linear progression through a stage. You're not allowed to go back. You can only stay on the path that the camera and the actual ship itself takes you. So in that sense, you are on a rail. It's like a rail system. It's a guard system. You are going where the game wants you to go, and your objective is to shoot everything in sight. Okay, I thought this gameplay was going to be so much more simplistic than what it ended up being. It ended up being so much more complex than I could have ever given it credit for or even hoped for prior to playing this game. Sure, at the end of the day, you're still just flying around in your R-Wing or on the Landmaster or in the submarine and just shooting at stuff. That is the end of the day, the actual gameplay loop. But it's so much more than that in a way that I truly can't describe, other than saying you just have to experience it for yourself. When you're in that R-Wing and you're flying through the sky, even though you technically aren't controlling where you're going, in the actual aspect ratio of this box that you're in, you can still feel as though you're in complete and total control. Like, obviously, you're going from point A to point B because that's the point of the story. I'm trying to get to the anomaly that Slippy is detecting. I'm trying to get to the surface of this planet to defeat Dr. Andross, or I'm helping Bill out with a weird UFO ship coming to destroy the place. Like, this is something unique. The R-Wing itself has several different ways that you can operate it and move it and use throughout the gameplay. There are somersaults, which I find are not usable at all, to be honest, within gameplay. Like, I don't personally see a reason to use it other than getting items, or if there's a spot that you very clearly need to. Most of the time, it doesn't really do anything because all you're doing is going up and around and then back right where you started. So I think that could also be some sort of an alternative for a break. If there's an enemy behind you, you could use a somersault to go around it and then be able to shoot it from behind, but I've not really seen myself use it that much. There's the brake, as I mentioned, you just press B and then you slow down. There's obviously the auto acceleration, so you don't have to worry about going. The game pushes you forward and you steer up and down, and then you just mash the A button. You hold it and boom, you're able to do the charge shot. You're shooting everything in sight and it will lock on to wherever your little hitbox is aimed. One thing I really do appreciate about the gameplay is that you're not immune to shooting your own allies. You could literally take out all 3 of them if you wanted to, and they would just crash and burn, and you would miss out on having them and their dialogue and their health bars on the enemies, in Flippy's case, for that next stage. So you're really motivated to keep everyone alive and to help them out when they call for it. And although the gameplay may seem simple and I'm really doing a poor job of describing it, again, you just need to play it for yourself. And for this price, and that's something we'll talk about later probably, but for $50, it is worth jumping in. And speaking of those characters that you can destroy or help, Both Peppy, Fox, Falco, and Slippy are such a lovable cast of characters. You don't spend a ton of time with them in any of your campaigns, like individually, but it's putting them all together and learning about them through each and every playthrough, each and every different route that you go. That is where the characters shine the most. Falco is very brooding. He's kind of a jerk, to be honest. He's very arrogant, and that shows in both his gameplay style and the way he interacts with everyone around him. But he clearly understands the value of teamwork and being a part of a pack or a flock, if you will, because he not only is a part of Star Fox the crew, but he was a part of a former crew, and we're able to see through some different dialogue with another character that comes in how he and her were able to have a relationship together, and with the other pack that he was with prior to Star Fox. There's just something there where I feel like Falco is so much more of a deep and thoughtful character than you might initially expect. Slippy is really funny. Apparently he has a history in Star Fox games of just being completely useless, but in this game that's not really the case, in my opinion. I mean, I see him all the time working with technology, actively helping the team. We would be nowhere without Slippy in that Landmaster, in the submarine, and on Solar, being able to help boost the shields in the lava planet. Like, it just makes a huge difference having Slippy. From a gameplay aspect, like fighting bosses, he will analyze them and give you a health bar, and most of the time he'll give you a tip on where to hit. Slippy is so fun. I love his design, probably the most out of all the characters. He's just so great. Then there's Peppy. Peppy, he's the only one that I kind of don't like, but at the same time, I think that they designed him that way on purpose. He will not stop talking about Fox's dad, James McCloud. Every single time this dude is on screen, he's either going to tell you something about his dad or tell you what to do. There's no in between. He's either going to say, get someone off of me, or quit. It's not a game. We're not playing around here, guys, or boss everyone around. He's kind of like the dad of the crew, because both Fox and Slippy were in the academy together back in the day. Apparently, everyone went to some sort of academy. Peppy is long out of the academy, presumably, and was a part of the original Star Fox with James. And as we said, Falco is kind of like a rogue warrior from another past. But yeah, Peppy, he just constantly reminds you of your dead dad in this game, and it is so frustrating because it's like, oh man, that's just like your dad. Oh man, that's just like your dad. And he just keeps talking about the dead dad, and Fox in one of the routes gets kind of fed up with it, and he's like, yeah, well, he's not here, is he? Didn't do him much good, did it? And that's where I get to our main character, Fox. Fox, honestly, isn't all that compelling, to be honest with you, but it's all of the characters interacting together, and the fact that he is just the leader that kind of draws us to him, and the fact that we're playing as Fox. He's very charismatic. He's a strong leader. He's able to get everyone together. I mean, who else could handle Slippy's craziness, Falco's brooding arrogance, and Peppy's overbearing fatherhood? There's just a lot there that Fox is able to manage, and the story is so fun to follow. My first playthrough, I didn't know what I was doing. I just went from point A to point B. I didn't find any secret exits to speak of, and I got to the end and got my butt kicked a lot by Dr. Andross, and then it wasn't even the right ending. I didn't even see the credits roll. It was just the bad ending, and I didn't know what I was doing. I ran through it a couple more times and found a couple different routes here and there, but I never was able to see that game to completion through a different secret route. So I ended up looking it up because I didn't know what to do. Well, it turns out in the very beginning, Falco will challenge you to go through all of these different rocks, and I just was never listening to him because I was like, dude, we got more important things to do than play around. But that was when I learned that you need to pay attention to each of the prompts and everything that they say in between cutscenes and in gameplay. Shoot, there might be some people that played Star Fox 64, and maybe these shortcuts are the same from them, but there might be some people that totally skipped these new cutscenes, went straight to the gameplay, and missed a ton of secret exits because in those cutscenes, they tell you about what you're supposed to do next. There's one specifically where you're on the Landmaster, you're going, and you're attacking this train, and Peppy will tell you beforehand, yeah, we need to attack this dude, but there are also going to be different poles and levers along the way, and if you shoot all of them, we'll be able to put the train directly into their base of operations and shut it all down. That is key, in my opinion, at least from all the playthroughs that I've had. That is key to being able to truly defeat Andross, is being able to nerf his operation. And it's just so well designed, right? I'm talking about all of these different ways that most people would try to figure it out on their own. I did not do that because I'm so busy and I didn't have time to figure it out myself. I played through like 3 times and I was like, okay, what's going on? I'm missing something. But then after that, I didn't look anything else up, and I found everything except for one planet, Titania, I believe it's called, and I have no idea how to get there. And if you're a fan of the channel and you've seen other reviews, this is the first time I've talked about playing the game over and over and over again. No, it's not because I just love the game that much, which I do, but it is because of how short the game is. And that's something you're going to need to know going into it, because if I hadn't known before, if a commenter hadn't told me, I would have been like, what is happening? And that's something that they didn't really market this game well with, in my opinion. Star Fox is a weird experience where you're supposed to play through the game a lot. You're supposed to go back and forth through it every single time to find a new route. You go from planet to planet, you'll find secret exits, or you'll be able to go through it all the way to the end just normally, and that is how you get to the end of that route. Through those routes, you will find more and more things and listen to more and more things that the characters are saying, and then you'll think, oh, in the next playthrough, maybe I go there, maybe I'll do that instead, and you'll find yourself on a totally different side of the galaxy. It is so well crafted and well designed in a way that should be very intuitive. But yeah, there's no shame in looking up how to do things. We've all got our own problems in life. Let's have a fun experience with these games the way we want to play them. So the characters are great. The story itself is something we need to talk about a little bit more. I think it's fine, right? There's nothing super amazing about it. There's some confusing aspects of it. Maybe there are some endings that I haven't found yet, but most of the true endings will end up having Fox escape from the big explosion by like his dad's ghosts helping him out. Then of course everyone will go to the end, will get meddled. Slippy will say, "Hey Bill!"
Is that Bill? Hi Bill!
Bill will do his little nod and I will crack up every time on command. But there's just so much swag in this game, right? Even though I'm saying that it's kind of surface level and there isn't a ton to engage with, at least from a content perspective, there's so much that you can do running through this game back to back to back in different formats, in different ways, and you're going to be able to experience it in such a fun way. Your first playthrough, you don't know anything about these characters, you don't understand why they do what they do. You can kind of get a general idea of what personality archetype they fit in, but you don't know exactly who they are or anything about them until you go through it multiple times. It's through this repetition and the designers being able to make you go through it over and over again that you become more and more endeared towards these characters than you would in any other experience. Because every single time you want them to succeed and you want to find different ways to move forward. Through that, you're going to learn more about them. You're going to see what's going on, and I love this addition to this game. That's something brand new to the Switch 2. All of these amazing cutscenes that give us the charisma behind these characters and the swagger of the presentation as a whole. Fox is just downright cool. He's just so cool, and Star Fox is a well-oiled machine. I don't know how long they've been together, but they all know exactly what they're doing. This is a crew of professionals, and that's why the General comes to us, because we are the only ones that can do what he wants us to do. We're the only ones that can help him defeat Andross. And back to those designs for a second, the designs are so much better than people gave it credit for. They are mesmerizing in a way I can't quite explain. The cutscenes are just on another level this Switch 2 generation. I mean, we've seen so many amazing cutscenes in Donkey Kong Bonanza. There's so much swag there. In Star Fox here, it's amazing. Even in Metroid Dread and Metroid Prime 4, those cutscenes are incredible. I just find the presentation in the Switch 2 generation to be truly next level, truly next generation. Like Mario Kart World even. It has sauce. And the graphics are just jaw-dropping. The really, really great part about making any sort of linear game where you are wholly and completely constructing the path of the player before them, you get to control everything they see, and in turn, you get to make those visuals look as great as possible. It's the reason that Luigi's Mansion 3 looks so downright incredible, because every floor is its own loading zone, and they were able to put all of that graphical power and all of that raw material straight into those graphics of that individual room. Here in Star Fox, it's the same thing. Every single planet looks incredible. It looks exactly like you would expect it to look. And this is the generation that I really want to see Nintendo continue with that path of making the characters themselves, yes, look more realistic than they did in the past, but more stylized compared to the world itself. Allow the world to be stylized, yes, because this is obviously not a real world. If you look at it, it doesn't look like a real mountain or a real ocean, but it does look like a realistic cartoon style. They need to continue with this. I hope they do it with Ocarina of Time, where the environments look more realistic than ever within the art style, but then the characters themselves are just stylized to perfection. This is a great formula, and I hope to see them continue on with it. It's amazing. The story, it might not be all that much, but I am more than satisfied with it, especially after multiple playthroughs. The characters are pretty great, and I love how even though they may not be super in-depth, you can kind of fill in the blanks with so many different things that they say, and you can understand what they are and who they are by the little that they give you. Every line has purpose in this game. Every single thing about this game is purposeful, and I love that. If you're a fan of the channel, you will know if I can see purpose, if I can see the vision, I will appreciate the design of your game and the game overall so much more because I saw what you were going for, even if I didn't agree with it. And sometimes, like in this game's case, I will fully agree with your direction. Star Fox is satisfying. Star Fox looks amazing. Star Fox is incredible. Let's talk about the audio design because I have a little bit of nitpicks with this. Okay, so when you're defeating enemies and when you're shooting at enemies, it sounds great. It feels great. But when you hit an enemy, especially big bosses, there is a really, really weird difficulty curve, in my opinion, in understanding if you're even hitting the enemy at all or if it's doing any sort of damage. Especially if I've gotten better at this game, Slippy will give us a health bar and you'll be able to see exactly what is doing damage and what isn't by trial and error. But it's totally possible for you to go into a boss fight without Slippy because he died in a previous level or because the R-Wing needs redone. And so if you're in a boss like I was on Solar and I was trying to attack this big monster and I had no help whatsoever, I had no idea that what I needed to attack was the limbs and not the body. And because it takes so long in some of these cases of the boss fights to defeat a specific part of that boss, like those limbs from Solar, I didn't even know that what I was doing was effective, and so I just stopped doing it. I had to literally look up how to beat it. And this is kind of also a bit of visual design because apparently in the original Star Fox, there was a visual cue every time you were hitting the right spot of like the enemy flashing. I honestly agree with them taking that away because I think it adds to the realism of the world, being like, no, of course in real life, if you were to shoot a monster, it wasn't going to tell you visually that you're hitting the right spot. You would just know by it going down or by it succeeding, and through your own methods you're able to figure that out. But it's the audio design that I just cannot forgive in a game like this because everything else is so perfect. I just don't understand why they couldn't give us some sort of audio cue, some sort of ding or buzz or just anything making that sound effect sound different than it is right now, than it is normally. I think I've even seen some people say that there is an audio cue and you just have to listen really close. I've not noticed that at all, and I have a nice sound bar that I bought like a couple years ago, and I think I would have definitely heard that sound cue if maybe I'm crazy, but I really think I would have heard it. And the fact that I'm even questioning it and the fact that I've seen so many people complain about this specific aspect, that is a flaw of the game. But hey, in terms of audio design, I cannot complain about anything else because of this game's soundtrack. Guys, this game, part of the reason the experience is so swaggy, part of the reason this game has so much sauce, and the reason that it feels so good to play this game is because everything meshes together in an amazing experience. And in my opinion, if your music, if your soundtrack is top notch, all the gameplay will go up. And if that gameplay is already great, then the whole experience rises even further. A game like Metroid Dread is so amazing. The gameplay is so smooth. It's like butter. I love every aspect of it, but the music isn't all that great. And so I find myself sometimes getting a little bit tired of the repetition of the gameplay. But if that score was up to snuff, oh my goodness, guys. Metroid Dread, it's already the best Metroid game in my opinion, but it would be one of the greatest games of all time. Here in Star Fox, that could not be further from a problem. The soundtrack is incredible, and it starts even from the main menu. You get yourself a little bit of like a dun. It starts off really low and quiet, and it kind of makes you listen and want to see where it's going to go next. Then it takes you on a little curve. In the background, you start to hear some of the strings and the instruments well up and swell up. It kind of rises to a climax, and then it comes right back down to the beginning. On Corneria, oh my goodness. At the very first part of this soundtrack, I wasn't a huge fan at first. I was like, what are we doing with all these loud brass instruments? I don't know. But then they got me with the strings. I'm a sucker for strings. Everyone on the channel knows I'm a sucker for strings. So then they hit you with the Then that brass comes in the background. It's like ba 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 ba. It is so good. And don't even get me started on Wolf's theme. Wolf's theme is incredible. You know what, here, I'm just gonna play 30 uninterrupted seconds of this theme because it's that good. This game is full of bangers. The only downside is that because there are a limited amount of areas, you don't get to hear as much as you'd probably like. But there can be upsides to that because every single track is so good. So many times when you replay, especially on Corneria, you just get boom right into that world and you are just mesmerized and immersed immediately because it's so great. And every time you go through again, not only are you recognizing those amazing themes that you kind of subconsciously noticed at first, but the gameplay is starting to click with you more. Everything is starting to click. So every time you go through, it feels more satisfying, more like you figured out exactly how to beat this game in the way it was intended and to master it. It's incredible. It's just so great. Now finally, let's talk about some extra modes. There's a co-op mode in which you can kind of play with mouse controls where one person is controlling the flight and the other person is controlling the reticle where you're aiming your shots. This mode is fine. It's nothing to write home about. It's just a good way to get people involved if they want to, but it's not a lot there. Then there's like a first person mode where you can get into the cockpit and use those mouse controls. Unfortunately, there's no way to do that with the third person mode, so this can be somewhat of a difficult mode to wrap your head around because of course if you're playing from the third person perspective and the game was designed around that, it feels kind of weird to be in the cockpit, but that's just another option. It's just something else to do. Another fun feature that people have used with the Switch 2 camera, if you get that and you're able to plug it into your Switch 2, you're gonna have that motion tracking where you can be Fox, you can be Peppy, you can be all these different characters, and that will be fun if you use Game Share a lot because you can use that with other people. They'll see you on their screen as Fox. It's just a cute way to use that camera. I love the way they implemented it. And finally, the battle mode. The battle mode is so fun, especially because you can play it online. It is totally fleshed out and it's so much fun. Basically, you're flying around, and I didn't play this too much, so I might be off base on some of this, but you fly around and you're able to attack the enemy, which is just other players, and then you go after different cargo that are coming onto the actual map itself. Sometimes it explodes, sometimes it hits the ground, and you have to make sure you're dodging and weaving and also making sure that the enemy doesn't take you down. And for as many times as you hit some of those things that are coming out of nowhere, and as many times as you hit and take down your enemy, you get points. And at the end of the match, because it's timed, whoever has many points win. This is a fun way to experience the game. It's fun if you want to continue to get that gameplay and you've gone through the entire campaign from first to end and you just want more. That's not me. I am going to be very satisfied by this campaign and be feeling free to move on. But yeah, man, Star Fox, it is quite the experience. It's something that I hope Nintendo really uses almost as like a blueprint for the next Star Fox game because they need to bring it back. They can't wait another decade to give us another game. Use this as a blueprint, use the hype around the Mario movie, use the hype around that Direct, use everything to make this a viable series again. And the studio, I believe it's Valion, they just did such a good job. No one had expected them to do anything. They had never made a game that was like this ever before. They were the ones behind Mario Kart Home Circuit, and they did spectacular. Like, they really outdid themselves here. Star Fox for the Switch 2 is an incredible experience. Now, is it worth it for you? What type of person would this game be worth for? Well, first, it's $50, and this is the first time in any of my reviews that I've been able to say specifically for a Nintendo game, yes, it is worth it for pretty much anyone to dive in because of how cheap the game is. The only thing I could see not being your type of thing is if this gameplay just doesn't click with you, if that price point doesn't match the amount of hours you expected, because I could see some people, perhaps knowing the old game, perhaps having played the 64 version and not caring for it too much, getting this, going through the route the first time, getting it all correct, and then not really caring to move on, because guess what? You can go through this in a whole afternoon 4 different times. You can see pretty much all you would need to see if you knew exactly where you were going in like 4 to 5 hours. And to beat one route, oh, it takes like an hour. It takes like just 1 to 2 hours. And yet, that doesn't really deter me from recommending it to anyone who might have concerns because of how satisfying that gameplay loop is. By the end of that first playthrough, you're either going to be turned on to the game or just confused by it, but either way, I think you'll be mesmerized by the experience and want to understand it more and want to go back in with a new perspective. The more you master this gameplay, the more you get into it, the more it hooks you, and the more you want to keep going, so you keep replaying and replaying. And even if that doesn't do it for you, even if those campaigns are too boring, the other modes are really fun, especially that battle mode. If you're more of an arcadey person that just wants to get those high scores, loves playing online multiplayer, you can do that endlessly. And then maybe once you get the controls down in that mode, you can come back to the campaign and fully run through it. I think the type of person that this game is worth it for is pretty much everyone across the board, unless you are the type of person that knows that shooting gameplay like this is just not for you. If you've experienced those rail system games before and you don't care about them, this isn't for you. That's just the case. It's not for you. But if you were like me and you had not played the game before, if you knew nothing about the series outside of just random things you've heard, stuff you've seen, references in other games like Smash, you will be in for an experience of a lifetime, something that you may not play forever and ever, but something that will leave an impression on you. 2026 will always be the year of Star Fox for the Switch 2 for me, and my memory of it will always be so strong moving forward. This may not be one of those massive games, those huge games that Nintendo needs to announce or they're gonna fail, but it was a really solid addition to the calendar. Remake or not, this game is incredible. And even if you are a Star Fox 64 fan, even if this is something that you don't care too much about because you think it's the same game again, it's been remade 4 times, I promise you, this game is better than all of them combined, and this game is giving you something that you've never played before, an experience you've never had. This is a glowing review, and I'm not going to hide from that. That is just my opinion of this game. Star Fox exceeded all my expectations, and honestly, for as much hype as I had going into it, I couldn't even believe that it met it, much less surpassed it. Star Fox for the Switch 2 is worth it to pretty much every type of person, and I would recommend for $50, especially if it goes on sale soon. My gosh. Please pick it up, give it a shot, buy it physically. This is just such a cool game to get into. It's such a really cool piece of Nintendo history, and I think, in my opinion, we need to support good practices, and we need to support companies bringing back old IPs and not letting them die simply because they didn't perform well. So let's support Star Fox. By the next financial report, I really hope to see 2 to 3 million sales, at least 1. I know we'll see 1, but like 2 to 3 would be so heartwarming. And yeah, everyone on this project just did so well. Thank you, Nintendo, and thank you for watching. So make sure you subscribe, like this video if you enjoyed, and make sure you click that notification bell so you never miss one of my uploads. Please consider joining my membership program, just a few bucks a month, to help support me financially and the channel overall. You get some access, you get some really cool perks for yourself as well. Well, if you liked today's video, make sure you click on the left side of your screen to see what I was talking about with my Star Fox fever about a month or 2 ago, and click on the right side of your screen if you want to see a little bit of what I was hinting at the end of this video with Sony and physical games. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this lengthy review. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray. Hope you have yourself an amazing day. I'll see y'all in the next video.